Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited about this week's topic. Now, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below so you can be in the loop on when I upload my latest videos, which are probably about once a week. But this week we're talking about something that is so near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I talk about throughout my entire practice, something that I will be talking about in a lot of detail within my YouTube videos, and it's the aspect of self-love. Self-love, self-confidence, self-esteem, and I just realized in the monitor that my shirt says "Get Lost," so it's not really the happiest shirt in the world, but we're just gonna roll with that anyways. So I'm gonna give you 12 things that will help you increase your self-confidence, your self-love, and your self-esteem. So let's get right into this because it's kind of a long list, so I'm gonna be brief on each topic, but I wanna give you just a better understanding of kind of what self-love is, because when most people hear it, they usually think, of course I love myself, of course I love myself, but if you really look at, the lives that they lead and how they view themselves, how they talk to themselves, the type of partner that they've attracted, they don't really love themselves. Most people don't make it a daily practice or a priority to really love themselves unconditionally. So I'm going to give you 12 things to kind of think about in terms of what self-love is, and you can see, maybe there are some on this list where you do them daily and you got them down, and then there are other things where you're like, what, I need to really start implementing that in my life. So this video will kind of just broaden your horizon on the benefits of self-love. The first thing towards having more self-love in your life is practicing self-awareness. Now, when we practice self-awareness, we are really learning to monitor our thoughts a little bit. We're no longer running around on autopilot, letting our thoughts kind of take over, letting our thoughts lead us towards anxiety or stress or panic or worry or fear or like any of those types of things. We are ready to take responsibility for our thoughts and our feelings because they ultimately create your happiness. Whatever thoughts you're thinking are either going to put you in a fear-based reality or a fear-based mindset, or a positive, happy mindset. So practicing self-awareness is huge. And one of the things that I tell my clients to do when they're just starting this, because in the beginning, it can almost feel like you're walking on eggshells and you don't want to live your life in every moment, just what am I thinking, like, monitoring every single thought. But what I say is put a reminder on your phone, just a couple times a day. And, the reminder is just check in with myself. And when the, alarm goes off or the, beep goes off on the phone and it says check in with myself, really check in. How are you feeling? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel tired, worried? Or do you feel happy? Do you feel hopeful? Like, what is the feeling that you're feeling? So the more you start kind of checking in, the more you can start monitoring the thoughts that you're having. Because the next step towards having more self-love is practicing positive self-talk. And this is important because as we begin to practice self-awareness and we begin to practice and understand when we're having a negative thought, we then have to replace it with a positive one. You can't ever get rid of a worry thought or a fear thought or a stressful thought with no thought at all. You have to replace it with the truth in order to shut that fear up. I kind of give people a couple of different tools, and one may be listening to positive affirmations. Listening to affirmations, while it's not going to change everything for you and all of a sudden you become this most positive and enlightened person, it is a good idea to listen to it because it'll start give you new thoughts, words, and phrases that you can start using in your day-to-day life. I especially love listening to positive affirmations as I'm going to sleep. So I'll just put a headset in and kind of just listen to it as I'm dozing off. That way my subconscious is wide open and it's just soaking up all of those good thoughts. And that way when the negative thought comes, when you're being aware of your thoughts and that negative thought comes, you have a good, library filled of great thoughts that you can then replace that negative thought with. Having positive self-talk is huge. It's huge. It's going to be the thing that lifts you up, that keeps you motivated, that supports you, that's loving. And something that I tell all of my clients, and for me it was the most helpful thing I'd ever learned was any thought that I had that wasn't loving, supportive, positive, motivating, was not coming from me. It was coming from my wounded self. It was coming from my wounded ego. So it was easy for me to decipher and how to kind of shut those thoughts up, because when they came, if I didn't feel content and happy and supported and loved by my own thoughts, I knew it wasn't coming from my true self. It wasn't coming from, my intuition or my soul or my essence, whatever you want to call it. I like to kind of even call it just my true self. My true self is unconditional love, right? It's the part, we all have this part of ourselves. Some people call it our soul or our intuition, but our true self is unconditional love. So any thought that comes in that is not that unconditional love, that supportive thought, I knew was not coming from me, and it was coming from my wounded self. So it was easier for me to learn how to shut that part of myself up when I knew it wasn't a thought that I was actually having. Like, I didn't attach to the thought because I knew it wasn't my thought. It was just a thought that was coming in and out, and I kind of let it go and I replaced it with the truth. And that's what I wanted to teach my clients to do, and that's what I do in my practice almost every day. The next thing is spending time alone. People that have a high sense of self-love, and they have high confidence and self-esteem in themselves, they spend time by themselves. They are not the people that, have FOMO, fear of missing out. They don't need to always be doing something. They're content with going out and they enjoy it and they love being around friends and family, but they can also sit home and do whatever it is that they want to do. They understand that that time alone is time for them to be with themselves, to recharge themselves, and to do things that they enjoy doing. So spending time alone is huge, because if you're coming from a place of low self-esteem or insecurity or not a lot of confidence, you're going to be the person that always feels the need to go out all the time, and that you're going to miss something if you don't go out. And that's just not the case. Someone that's very secure of themselves is perfectly okay with being by themselves, and they're perfectly okay with being with other people that they love and adore. The next thing is people with a high sense of self-love, high confidence, self-esteem, they really unconditionally love themselves. They take responsibility for their happiness. And what I mean by this is, you never hear these people say, well, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I meet him or her. I'll be happy when I'm married. I'll be happy once I have a baby. I'll be happy if I get this job and everything like that. They understand that nothing outside of them can make them happy except for themselves. So while they want that job and they want that career and they want that baby and they want this great marriage and they want all of these things, that those things are not going to determine their happiness. So if they don't get them, that they're still going to be happy and whole by themselves. And it's the most freeing thing in the world when you can, and really empowering, when you can honestly say that you are going to make yourself happy and that's it. And that while other people, make you happy in life, that they're not responsible for your happiness. You don't put that on anyone else except for yourself. It's such an empowering place to be. But people that really love themselves and have that high level of self-confidence in themselves, they take care of their bodies, meaning, you know what, today I have the cake and the cookie and maybe tomorrow I don't. And they balance life out. So they work out occasionally, or they work out a lot, whatever your regimen is, whatever you believe is good for you. But they just make it a point to say, you know what, everything in moderation. And it's important to get physical exercise into my day-to-day life, whether that's I enjoy going for walks or walking my dog, or being outside playing with my kids, which can be a workout in itself. But they just make it a point to be physically active. They make it a point to watch what they're eating. They make it a point to try and drink more water, on a day-to-day basis. All of those things that just will in turn give back to you, because you'll have more energy, you'll feel better about yourself, you'll have more confidence in yourself, because you're taking care of yourself. The next thing towards having more self-love in your life is listening to your intuition. Now, each of these 12 steps is really, really important, and listening to your intuition is, for me, it was aside from having, more positive self-talk in my life and really understanding where my thoughts were coming from, listening to my intuition has been huge for me. So people that really love themselves, they listen to that voice within. And I'm telling you, the more you listen to it, the louder it gets, the easier it gets to believe it, because you'll be shown time and time again that it was right. The next thing towards having more self-love in your life is practicing forgiveness. People that really love themselves, they know how to forgive. They know how to forgive themselves. They know how to forgive others. And the reason why I talk about forgiveness is because when you love yourself, you know that your happiness is important. It's the most important thing, and you take responsibility for your happiness, and you know that you can't truly be happy in life and begin attracting all of the things that you want if you're carrying around this bitter and anger from someone betraying you, or someone hurting you, or talking about you behind your back, or someone lying to you, someone had an affair. And while all of those things are extremely hurtful, and none of what I'm saying right now is to invalidate what you have had to go through in order to get to a place of forgiveness. Someone betraying you, someone hurting you, someone lying to you, someone cheating on you, someone leaving you, whatever it is, right? It's something that is painful. And you have to go through a process in order to start really being able to forgive someone. And that's so important. Because I deal with a lot of men and women that are coming out of long-term relationships. They're coming out of marriages or engagements and things like that. And they're just feeling stuck. And that's why they're coming to me, because they're trying to figure out, how do I kind of move past what I'm feeling and get to that place where I'm excited about my future? I just don't feel it right now. And one of the things that I tell everyone is you have to sit in how you feel. You have to not judge how you feel. You feel hurt, you feel upset, you feel angry, you feel sad one day, you feel happy. Like, it's a roller coaster of emotions. But you will get to a place where you're just feeling like you're starting to get over it, because you're starting to make sense of it, and you're starting to just get to a place where you're just sick of this feeling just kind of lingering around you. I almost think of like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. There's just this smog like near you, and you're just ready to kind of like walk through it already. And a lot of forgiveness, actually not even a lot of it, all of it, true forgiveness has to do with no one but yourself. You're forgiving because you don't want to walk around with that anger and that resentment of what someone did to you. You're kind of over it, and you're going to say, you know what? This person's not in my life anymore, or I learned something about this person that I'm glad I know about now, and I'm ready to just move on. I'm sick of having this mess around me. And forgiveness, for some people, they can struggle with it, but I know most people that come to me and have an issue with forgiveness, they get to that place because they understand what forgiveness is. Because unfortunately, they've been programmed to think it's something that they're giving someone else. They're letting them off the hook for what they did. That they're saying, you know what, it's okay that you did that, I forgive you. And it has nothing to do with the other person at all. Because to be honest, most people that hurt you don't really care if you forgive them. They've moved on with their lives. And you're still sitting here angry and bitter, and they don't care. So you're forgiving for yourself because you're done living in the past and ready to move on to the future. And it's a practice. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers and say, okay, I forgive you and now all is well. Especially if this person is still going to be in your life and you have to see this person from time to time. It's a constant reminder of what this person did to you and how they hurt you. It's a continuous practice. But when you really love yourself, you don't let yourself stay in that place of anger anymore because you're over it, you're ready to move on, and even when the person perhaps is still in your life, provokes you or does something or whatever the situation is, you learn to just let it go. Let's focus on my own happiness, and I'm letting that stuff go, and I'm not taking it personally anymore. That's true empowerment. That's true, self-love. That's someone that has a high level of self-confidence and self-esteem in themselves. The next thing is people that really love themselves, they love themselves unconditionally. What do I mean by unconditionally? They love themselves regardless of what they do. So they understand that they're not perfect, and they're not trying to be perfect, because perfect doesn't even exist, because we're human beings, so we're all imperfect. And they love everything. They love their flaws, they love the good stuff, they love the not so great stuff, the stuff that they'd want to change, the stuff that they just love about themselves. They love everything. So they love their curves, they love, their nose, they love their ears, they love everything about what makes them who they are. And unconditional love also has to do with, not judging your thoughts or not judging how you feel at times. A lot of people come to me, and I think because they're ending a relationship and they want to get to a certain place, and they kind of judge themselves for, kind of taking a step back and being angry with that person again. They were doing really well, and all of a sudden now they're upset. And then they judge themselves for having that thought. Judgment is not your best friend, for sure. And when you really love yourself, you love yourself unconditionally, which is, you know what? You have that thought, you have that feeling, that's okay. I love you and I support you. It's about giving yourself the stuff that you would give your best friend, the stuff that you would give, your child. And for me, that was huge. When I became a mother, and how I spoke to my son and how I viewed my son, I realized, wow, I don't really do that for my own self, and I'm giving my son all of this unconditional love, and I can't do that for myself. Like, that's a problem. So one of the things that I always say is, sometimes when a client comes to me and they start talking to me and they're having those judgment thoughts, they're having those negative thoughts, I often say, would you literally say that to your friend, your best friend, the person you love dearly in this whole world? Would you say that to them? Or would you encourage them and support them and help them? And just be that ear to listen to. Sometimes all we need is just to know that we're there for our own selves, and that it's okay to have these thoughts. I'm telling you, your entire life will change when you start really taking care of yourself in that way. The next thing towards having more self-love is people that really love themselves, they celebrate themselves. They celebrate their wins, they celebrate their achievements. When they get that new job, they go out for dinner or they buy themselves something nice. They take care of themselves. I see so many people, and I was one as well. I would do something like I would get a new job, or I'd graduate college or something like that, and I would just kind of downplay it. I wouldn't really be loving and supportive of myself. I didn't really always take the time to appreciate everything that I just did to get me to where I am today. And that's something that I don't do anymore. I pat myself on the back every chance I get, and it helps motivate yourself. It helps me to make you just feel supported. No one, while it's great if a friend takes you out for your birthday and your husband buys you flowers because you just got that new job, or your wife, makes your favorite meal, or whatever it is. While all those things are great, at the end of the day, when you do it for yourself, I'm literally getting goosebumps, like, as I'm saying this, because it's so true, is when you really, seriously, look at this. Hairs are up. When you do it for yourself, it feels so different, because you should have been doing it all along, number one, and you realize that, but it just makes you feel like you're really loving yourself, and you are. It feels great. It really feels great. So making a point to celebrate your wins, your achievements, a goal that you set, that you accomplished, anything. The fact that you're maybe a stay-at-home mom and you didn't have a meltdown that day, that's an accomplishment. If you have 3 or 4 kids running around and you kept it together like all day, and you were a great mom that day and you had tons of energy, achievement. Go celebrate. Give yourself 20 minutes. Go take a nice hot bath and a glass of wine and have a great day. But it's just about celebrating yourself, and no one can do it as best as you can do it for yourself.